Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. Have you been watching the market recently? Have you been paying any attention to the price of precious metals and where the economy is taking us? Peter Schiff says that people don't realize the significance of the price of gold today. If you haven't looked at it lately, earlier in the week it was trading at $2,000 an ounce. He says apparently gold has reached a new milestone. This is the first time ever, and it was on Tuesday, that gold went above $2,000. It was $2,017 an ounce, and it immediately sold off. Instead of wanting to buy the breakout, they wanted to sell at the high point, and that's exactly what they did. Of course, once gold pulled back, all that buying that drove it up to 2,000 in the first place was still there. But the problem for the sellers, or the shorts as they're called, is once it got back above 2,000 again, all the people who wanted to sell $2,000 gold had already sold, and the smart money had bought it from them. Peter said the only thing that really surprised him about $2,000 gold is that it took this long to get there. He says, but I think that the $1,000 milestones are going to start dropping like dominoes. And I think people are going to take notice because today, very few people are noticing or commenting on the significance of gold going over $2,000. And he believes that that's happening because people don't understand it. Understand what? That the rising price of gold is telling us that the dollar is in deep trouble. He says the dollar is on fire. And the fire may have begun with the dollar, but it's going to spread to the financial markets and the entire economy, and people just don't get it. CNBC and one analyst was explaining why gold's move above 2,000 wasn't a big deal and predicted the yellow metal would sell off as soon as real interest rates went positive. The question was when? And when it does, the stock market will go with it. Peter said he thinks that the dollar is close to a Wile E. Coyote moment. You know, that moment where he suddenly drops off the cliff, yelling all the way down? There is severe economic hardship that the vast majority of Americans are going to go through. And gold is basically letting you know that that hardship is on the way. In other news, we have the border tunnel. We found a new one in Arizona. I went to the map to find out exactly where it is. It's right across the border from Mexico. But an incomplete tunnel stretching from Arizona to Mexico, or from Mexico to Arizona, according to the experts, appears to be what they call the most sophisticated tunnel in U.S. history. The tunnel is intended for smuggling, and it runs from San Luis, Arizona, to a Mexican neighborhood. And it had a ventilation system, water lines, electrical wiring, a rail system, and extensive reinforcement. Homeland Security investigators found the tunnel in late July. A camera was sent 25 feet underground after federal agents discovered a sinkhole in the area of a tunnel investigation. Photos show the tunnel measured 3 feet wide, 4 feet high. San Luis, Arizona is right across the border of Mexico and the U.S. You could walk from there. Down in Washington, D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser had opened the streets of the city for free public expression. At least that's what a group said. in their statement. What we didn't know was that you could only do that and not get arrested if the mayor agreed with what you were expressing. Students for Life, Abolish Abortion representatives arrived at the area in front of the D.C. Planned Parenthood Saturday morning and were met with several police cars. Police initially warned the group that they would be arrested for using temporary paint and said they would be arrested even if they used chalk. So it appears that if you have the right politics, the right social structure, you can paint the street, you can demonstrate in D.C. But if you're on the opposite side, no, you're a problem. You can't do that. It's against the law. Don't you love it? ProphecyNewsWatch.com has an article this week says nearly half of the 258 government agencies surveyed this month are reporting that funding has already been slashed or is expected to be reduced. This according to a report that's going to be released this week by the Police Executive Research Forum. That's a nonpartisan research organization. Much of the funding is being pulled from equipment, hiring, and training accounts, even as a number of cities are also tracking abrupt spikes in violent crime. And in most cases, these are not small cuts. Police funding in Los Angeles has been reduced by $150 million. And police funding in New York has been slashed by a total of $1 billion, with a B, dollars. These are two of the most important cities in America in terms of population and commerce. They rank number 1 and number 2. New York City boasts a population of over 8 million people. Los Angeles, 3.9 million. And both cities were growing before the coronavirus hit. And both cities are ultra-liberal. A recent BBC headline claimed the world is facing a jaw-dropping global crash. Not an economic crash, mind you, but a crash in the birth rate. Citing a new study by University of Washington, the BBC article claims that falling fertility rates mean nearly every country could have shrinking populations by the end of the century. My opinion would be not Muslim countries. In fact, they said 23 countries, including Spain, Portugal, Japan, and South Korea, could see their populations cut in half by 2100. That's 80 years from now. The same study found that between 1950 and 2017, the global fertility rate went from 4.7 children per woman to 2.4. And that rate is expected to drop below 1.7 by 2100. Not enough to maintain the population. For reference, a fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman is required to maintain the population at its stable, any kind of a stable level. What the article doesn't tell you, but I will, is that the devil, your enemy, archenemy, hates people. He has found numerous ways to kill them off. And he's doing that before they ever have a chance at redemption. A fellow by the name of Professor Murray described to the BBC who it was that pays taxes. Who pays for the health care of the elderly? Who looks after the elderly? Will people still be able to retire from work if the economy continues the way it is? And these were only the immediate concerns. Declining populations, shrinking economies create downwardly spiraling vicious cycles. As governments raise taxes on a dwindling working age population in order to cover the burdens of supporting the elderly, young couples, other people may conclude that they are even less able to afford children. This in turn results in a kind of graying, despairing populations we see today in places like Japan and Europe, where some governments actually pay couples to get pregnant. At the same time, the BBC notes the population of sub-Saharan Africa will triple by the end of the century. Can you see it? Do you have to get out the slide rule to figure this out? Does somebody have to explain it to you? Yeah, the world is changing. Some of us are glad we're older.